That's James's dinner. It's a stuffed pepper. It's not really exciting stuffing, it's just fried rice. And some bulgogi barbecue potatoes and a big salad and those spagliatelli things or whatever they're called. And James is going to review this book, it looks like.
Previewed, Nathan.
I'm going to review these movies. So that got top of the stack against these other ones. And that little waffle is a little cake treat instead. So it's from that mix. So that's what James is having for dessert instead of a piece of cake today. And I was going to read a poem that I wrote today. Maybe I will. You talk about your book a little bit, and I'll go get the poem.
Yeah, I can only speak a little bit about it. Preview. This just got left out of here on the table. So Dorothy L says, "Oh God," he said softly, "1 month, 4 weeks, 31 days. There isn't much time. I don't know where to begin. There was only one short month for Lord Peter Wimsey to save Harriet Vane from being executed on charge of poisoning her lover. 1 month to prove her innocent. To find the real murderer. Strong poison."
I forgot you said it was a preview, so yeah, you didn't have anything to talk about.
Well, I did. I just read the blurb on well, it's not a blurb, it's an excerpt. So.
Yeah. So anyway, here's my poem which I wrote today called My Mind's Eye Springs Images. Which, yeah, I was still sick. I took some trash out to the bin, then paused before I came back in to see my tulips in dawn's light. They weren't yet blooming, not a sight that normally would catch my eye, and yet I smiled as I passed by them on my way inside again. I thought of future blooms right then. My mind's eye formed what I would see from every tulip memory my mind had stored from years before. My tulips caught my eyes, and more. A couple bucks were in my yard. I didn't take my bloom's loss hard. It didn't feel like loss to me. I'd seen my blooms, from memory, as though they'd been in bloom today. Those blooms lured handsome bucks my way. Another captured memory, my mind's eyes stored for future me. So that's that. And I'll review these things. And honestly, watching all of these is just incentive to get better. These were not good. The Swinging Safari was the best of the bunch. I was actually fairly impressed with it.
I kind of peeked in on that one. That was the Australian one, was it?
Yeah, for an Australian movie, they did a good job. I'm generally not into, there's a bit of a culture difference, and I can't relate a lot of the time to.
It comes down to groups too. Think about the Bee Gees, AC/DC.
Yeah, there's just a bit of a culture difference. But anyway, I was, well, that's interesting. It says it was from the director of The Adventures of Priscilla, Queen of the Desert, and I never would have guessed, but yeah, there's a lot of the imagery, like it's artful to watch, actually. The people who put this together really put a lot into the vibrancy of the colors and the, different things, like people are using different kitchen equipment and pieces and stuff. It just seems really
catchy.
Some
of the songs they had were kind of catchy.
Yeah, there's a lot of colors and attractive looking 70s stuff, but not attractive parenting style.
It's a Kylie Minogue.
Yes, that's the first thing I noticed when I borrowed this from the library. I'm like, Kylie Minogue, eh? And yeah, she still looks very beautiful. Yep,
It's kind of like an ageless
I
wonder,
can
I
tell
guess.
which one she is,
Can
but
you?
I guess
I
you
can't.
can't. Yeah. But
she's more your generation, I think, or later.
she's that one right there. You could maybe tell a little better on the back, no? Okay. Well, anyway,
Her look seems to change all the time.
there's some decent comedy, and it's creepy kind of comedy. There's gross stuff here, and I
A lot of snakes.
well, I don't know. I felt most sorry for the little dachshund that.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Yeah, but anyway, there's all sorts of things. Definitely here in Canada, we tend to think of Australians, I think, as being a little rougher. And
Well,
maybe a lot.
we're pretty rough. Our national game's hockey.
Yeah, I
And,
know.
Our second one is lacrosse, or the first one, really.
Yeah. And there's
pretty
a
rough.
lot of differences between different cultures within Canada. You know, like where I come from, the Peace Country, it's people might think it's rougher there or whatever because everyone hunts up there, but it's I never got that impression. You know, there's different, like if you're on the French side of the Peace Country versus the English, Irish, Scottish, whatever. There's differences there and stuff too. But anyway,
It's rough down here with the cowboys.
that's
In fact,
true
is
too.
my theory is where they meet at the end of Cowboy Trail. I think that's Highway 21 or something like that. And it's meeting up with Highway 43, which goes up in the Peace River country as Mayerthorpe. It's one of the scariest towns in Canada. Anyway,
Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, so it depends where you're from. You think, oh, that culture is really scary or whatever. Well, it's just different. So maybe it's not scary, it's just different. But anyway, I enjoyed the movie. Okay. More than these other things. So Star Wars, The Mandalorian, complete second season. This wasn't any better. Remember, I reviewed the first season and I was like, wow, yeah, I like it. And then the second disc, though, the second half of the first season, I'm like, it's kind of not as good as it started out, right? Well, this is like the second half of the first season. It's not as good as it started out. But, I don't know. You might like watching. Oh, I learned the name of the little Yoda, but I've forgotten because I'm sick. So I'll
or
have
maybe
to
it's
tell
just
you
pretty
it.
forgettable.
No, it's I don't even know if the little Yoda's a girl or a boy. I think it might have been a girl. I'm not sure, but you know, it's really hard for me to, even when I'm not doing anything this past week, barely, besides just laying and recovering. It's hard to pay attention to the TV. I think honestly, I pay attention better when I'm writing poetry constantly, but I'm not sick. When I'm sick, it's hard for me to actually keep track of things. It's just, my brain's not working really well. Anyway, it started with G, I think, the name, but I'll have to tell you in the third season, because then remember, I will watch the third season. It's not really bad to watch, it's just, I mean, if I were writing poetry, if I had a brain where I could sit and write, but I mean, that's all I wrote today, one poem. And
It's
that
been a
did
tough
me
day
in.
for you.
That was enough, you know.
I think we maybe overdid it yesterday. Did we do it?
We did. Yeah, we
You
might
never
have
can
to
tell.
just keep recovering. The color purple. This was not what I expected it would be.
I
See-
think I appreciate it more than you. Because I like the
Well,
soundtrack, but
That
Go for
is true. They did a good job with the music, but not for this movie. What were you thinking? I mean, maybe for somebody who hasn't watched the original Color Purple movie, but at first when I was gonna watch this, I thought, well, Oprah's like, she's held at such a high esteem with so many people that she's almost like at God status or something. So, redoing a movie that had Oprah in it, you'd think that would be, oh, we shouldn't do that because, you know, we don't want to displace Oprah out of or whatever. I don't. You know what I mean? But
Kind of like sacrament, eh?
yeah,
'Cause she's sacrosanct.
totally. That's what I was thinking. And so then, I look at the cover and I'm like, it looks kind of like a musical on the cover. I'm like, how is that gonna? And then, yeah, and so then I turn it on and
It's hilarious.
yeah, it's
And
a
it was
musical. And I'm like, okay, all this happy dancing and singing. I'm like, okay, I watched the first one. How can you have happy dancing and singing with what the story is from the first one? Well, they changed the story a bit, not enough to make it something that you'd turn into a musical.
It's hard to do a musical and not have it comic.
That's part of it, but the music that they were using made it seem more comic.
Yeah.
And that's, well, disgusting, frankly.
Come to think of it, maybe
given
half
the
the
subject
operas
matter.
are tragedies or serious stuff. They're kind of predecessors.
Yeah, well, not with this sort of music. I mean, you can have sad sounding music, like say there was a bit of comedy with Nightmare Before Christmas, but there's a lot of sad sounding music and stuff too, and there's a lot of musicals where it does sound sad. So, but this is just creepy. This is disturbing. Honestly, when I was watching this at first, I'm thinking, especially when they managed to, like, it's a movie about violence within the African American community, men against women. That's what this story originally was about. And they wanted to turn it into some sort of girl power empowerment movie and make it they even managed to bring in, the bad guys, white guys, white woman who wants a maid, and white guys who beat up some African American chick.
Was this current or was it?
Yeah, this is current. And so when I'm watching this, I'm thinking, wow, this is really freaking racist. And then I'm thinking, well, I mean, to turn The Color Purple into a race movie and a musical that's really, happy music and stuff, whatever. Oh my God. But then I was thinking, who else is involved with this? This may not be, I mean, you have pretty much almost all African American cast, but you don't know who's making the movie. And I'm wondering, every time I see movies like this where I'm like, ooh, geez, this is racist, then I'm thinking, what racist person is trying to push African American people away from, divide them away from other groups, and put them up against other groups. It's
So there's this idea out there amongst nifty, shifty, hefty lefties, and I might even know one, maybe related to them, that people of color they're coming over here and they're going to help out the indigenous people here in Canada and the United States, and going to help the former slaves in the United States.
That doesn't have anything to do with this movie, but at one point, are you talking about the end of the movie where the kids come back, then the sister, I'm giving it away here, come back from Africa? Somehow they ended up in Africa, and the bad husband, he puts up the money to get them back.
I'm talking in more general.
Oh, okay.
So I'm talking about how white folks are, especially
middle, lower classmen are just pick-ons for stuff like this. It's as you point out, it is not a good strategy because it's basically pitting different people, so-called different colors, off against each other. And they say now there's no race, and okay, whatever. But they do distinguish colors because there's people of color and then there are people of non-color, I guess. So they want to make that division, and it's a bad idea.
Well, it's going to get a lot of people killed, and it makes me worry. Honestly, when I first heard about a certain wealthy somebody trying to eradicate all the mosquitoes,
Yeah.
then and you
To
can
get rid of
look,
malaria.
yeah. Then I thought, what's in store for African people from Africa? Because honestly, the only thing that kept people from the West, I guess,
Or the East.
yeah, or from the East,
The,
from getting into Africa and
that
taking
would
it
include
over,
Muslims.
was malaria. So the mosquitoes, thank goodness for the mosquitoes in Africa for African people.
Well, that was, they wouldn't have been easily enslaved. And mind you, up until Quinine, the people who were actually doing the enslaving and selling them were fellow Africans. Okay? But that's the reason why they were so far behind other places. I mean, when you think about it, when you get into sub-Saharan Africa, in places that were more isolated, theoretically, i.e. the New World, they actually had some civilizations. So they didn't really, they kind of had in Nigeria and stuff like that, but south of there, wow. And it's because when people trade, they tend to trade blows and they tend to trade ideas. And so they were saved from the trading of blows, but they weren't.
But the trading of ideas too. Yeah.
They were saved, and that's not salvation or
No.
anything like that.
I know,
Yeah,
but
I know.
you must feel the same way that I do about worried about the future of African people.
Absolutely. See, they got
This
rid
doesn't
of
help.
people. Actually, some of them.
Somebody is, when you see movies like this, you go, oh my gosh, please, African people, don't listen to some propaganda like this. Go watch the original one.
I don't work through Black Lives Matter. Those guys apparently are a bunch of commies. Okay? Communism doesn't work. It's worse than that. It works backwards. Okay? It's not like a zero. It makes things go backwards.
No,
We've got
it's
a long
using.
track history.
Well, yes, but communism, the people that are following that, if they're African American and they're following any sort of communist movement, they're just tools. They're just being used. They're cannon fodder. And
that's what Nelson Mandela was being
sad.
set up for. There were a bunch of commies. He was more of a Nazi, but there were a bunch of commies in his African National Congress, and they were just waiting to get rid of him once he got rid of the Afrikaans people, and they were just waiting to get rid of him. They would have a figurehead, but it would be ruled by the Soviet Union, or maybe China, more like the Soviet Union. And so they would have had a black figurehead and stuff like that. Didn't work out. That's why the Afrikaans, they were just waiting for the Soviet Union to crumble. They didn't think it would happen as early as it did. And then they said, okay, we think we can trust you not to wipe us out the way the commies did hither, thither, and yon. And so far, they maybe made an okay decision. I don't know. The African National Congress has been characterized by corruption and ignorance and stupidity, but at least they haven't been as bad as Robert Mugabe tried to give the land back to the indigenous Africans, and of course, he should have known from the Soviet Union when they tried to do that, they ran into a famine, and of course Mugabe ran across, did that. It was around 2000 or something like that. Big surprise. It happens every time. Give land to folks who don't have experience handling land. You're going to have a famine. It just happens. You shouldn't have to run the experiment. You do a thought experiment and say, duh. It actually takes some experience to be a farmer.
All right, The Beekeeper. So this was better than I expected it would be, honestly. The only thing that got this movie put ahead of this one, honestly, I like musicals. So the music, as James mentioned, was good. It was good to listen to. It was just, they shouldn't have made The Color Purple into a musical. That's creepy, or at least not this musical. It could have been a sad musical, but not this musical. But yeah, I don't care for Jason Statham movies. And another thing that got this place underneath The Color Purple was I don't like vigilanteism. I don't like movies about it.
Well, I generally don't, although I kind of like
the Liam Neeson stuff.
Well, Liam Neeson, and then, well, I actually like Bruce Willis.
Yeah.
And I don't like the idea of him. But the one that really gets me is, because he seems so innocuous, really, is Keanu Reeves. Is he Canadian? Because they took out his dog in the first movie.
And it was a really sweet dog. It was a beagle at first, right? And so when you see that at first, you're like, get them all. You better get them all.
And torture the mother.
But no,
I don't like the idea, but I am telling you, when I'm watching those movies, when you get everyday guys like Bruce Willis and Keanu Willis has got way more acting chops, and Liam Neeson's got more acting chops too than Keanu. But when you see these kind of ordinary guys, and Liam Neeson is usually, it's Bruce Willis, it's usually his family, and you're going, holy smokes, because you run across folks like that, and then you go, okay, these guys are worse than the people who've been bullying you and stuff like that, because they're actually killers and so on and so forth. And the justice system oftentimes doesn't work.
Yeah. So that's basically what this movie is about. It's about a power system that, people in the system, I guess, that make it so that the system doesn't work, right? And there has to be somebody else who's going to protect the hive. So, anyway, it's if you want to see a lot of action, whatever, he's a one-man army.
Well, yeah, that's usually the idea, isn't it?
Yeah, that's the idea.
With those vigilantes.
Suck it up. This was not a good movie at all. I did like the scenery set in Invermere, so that's very nice.
Invermere, British Columbia. You're in Canada.
Yeah, but aside from that, I can't imagine anybody would want to watch this movie. Maybe
Who funded it? Like BC Tourism or something like that?
No, they would be embarrassed about this movie, I think.
Okay.
But yeah, it's about a young man who dies and the couple people that are left behind that are having a hard time. So anyway, that's it. That's all I have to talk about. How do you like that kind of waffle?
Pretty good.
So what I did is I've been cutting down when I make the waffles, I've been putting ground almond in it, or almond flour.
So that's what I'm tasting. It's tasty.
Yeah, there's almond in there.
Mm-hmm.
So I put it about half and half. like almond flour and that. So what I did,
So
and
you
what
figure
I
there's
have
less
been
sugar in it?
doing- Well, there would be less because it's an almond.
Well, that's
I
good.
put- But they didn't add
Plus,
sugar
almonds are
to
healthy
that
for
mix.
you, right?
Yeah, they didn't add sugar to that mix. That's so.
You
There's
wouldn't even tell.
yeah,
Oh well.
it's good.
You
But-
have some too.
Yep, I've been eating it. I got it on sale on clearance, so it was really cheap. So I figured I'd make some, and
Of course, I like the taste of almonds.
yeah.
They're
I
pretty
get
tasty. They're not my favorite nut.
The main ingredient is wheat. There's some protein powder and stuff in there, but there's wheat, and it really hurts. You know, if I eat wheat, I mean, my back has been hurting more lately, and my fingers are like, it's hard to, when I bend them, it's like, oh, they just ache. So I shouldn't eat wheat, but
Be a form of
Cheap.
allergic reaction.
well, I don't know. Some people it
Inflammation,
causes inflammation. Wheat causes inflammation. I think it causes inflammation in everybody. But if you already have some sort of problem with, if you've had problems with something, then maybe it makes it worse. Makes the pain. I don't know. But being a gardener for years,
Tough.
it's tough on the hands and it's tough on the back. So,
Probably tough on the
And then-
knees.
yep,
Gotta take care of your knees.
I know.
Well, I'm saying that about everyone.
It's so hard, like, I find that I start having trouble with my knees. And I say, what am I doing wrong? For a while there, it was like when I was washing my clothes in the bathtub. The washing machine doesn't
You put it against the bathtub.
push my knees
Yeah.
against the bathtub.
Yeah, it doesn't take much. It's
No.
just something little that, like, lately my knees have been hurting a bit more too, but that's probably the wheat. But now that I think about it, but while I'm laying in bed watching TV, I'll have my knees up like this, and the covers will be on it, right?
Yep. Covers will
And
do it.
it'll do it.
If there's a lot of covers, it could even be the gravity down.
Yeah.
More the binding.
I don't know.
Really
Anyway.
got to watch how you sleep. I'm saying that one has to watch how you sleep.
Yeah,
Pauline already does.
I try.
Just careful.
Try to take care because I have to take care.
Yep.
I want to be able to walk. I want to be able to hike in the day. So
The way a person sleeps can be bad for the back. Bad for the knees, bad for the back. You sleep on your back, bad for your back. It's even worse if you sleep on your stomach. It puts the back out of kilter. Like if you're lying on your side, one of the things to try and make sure of that you don't have the covers, like you're lying here, don't have the covers come under your knee. Because then it binds and it'll be pressure on your knee here too. Because there'll be a bump there. It's amazing how these things are. When you're a kid, you don't have to
you
worry
don't
about
have
it.
to worry about it. Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, all I've been doing is I put the mix in, and then I put hello baby, and then I put a little bit of water, and then I put the almond in to make it the right consistency. Hello, sweet little baby. That's a chickadee. That one chickadee hangs out with us quite often. Hello, darling.
He's looking for some
Yeah,
food off the
just
shelf
getting
there.
the
Isn't
seed off the